how beautiful you are.
Hello everyone, and welcome to part 2. Last time we built the main layout of Philoma, including the aqueduct. I also placed some of the main signature and service buildings, and started building out some blocks with the Mediterranean and French assets. Alright, so right now we're watching a time lapse of the winding mountain road to the future modern port area, where our harbors and power generation will be located. I thought I would add some other services here, like wastewater treatment and recycling, but later realized that they should actually be closer to the main city. However, this was a good place for a coal power plant and some industry. My first attempt at this build included a passenger harbor right in the middle of Philoma Bay, but it didn't feel quite right. It just looked too modern and took away from the historic feel of the city. Then I realized I could use trains like a metro and connect the harbor to the historical city and place down the Mediterranean Heritage train station, which you saw in the last episode. I want to focus this series on the historic main city of Philoma, so I won't show much of the port city, which I eventually decided to name Moderna, but I might dedicate a future episode to it, and I'm even considering continuing to build on it since it feels like it's not quite finished. Anyway, the purpose of this city is to support Philoma with some services, industrial jobs, and port access. As for the train station, I know it's not super realistic to have trains on this small island, but I just love that asset and I really wanted it as a centerpiece. The trains will function more like a metro between the two cities and another future project. Before we move on, I want to quickly talk about the structure of the rest of the series. Part 1 included a lot of live play footage, followed by a time-lapse build. I reached a point in this build where I was unable to continue the live play and just kept on building without talking. So the remainder of the series will be me going back and talking about what was built. I will also try and go back to previous save files to have a look around from those moments in time. I might skip over some of the more repetitive building or some of the things that I found less interesting or unique, and I probably won't show much of the neighboring port city until I've caught up with all the footage for the Philoma build. Now here you can see that winding mountain road is complete here. I'm also going to add a little bit of power generation, as I mentioned before, connected up with an underground cable and a transformer to the area, so at least we have some power generation to our city. I also put in the recycling facility and some farms because I do need a functional economy. That was one of the aspects of this competition. As you can see, I'm struggling with some traffic. This is mainly people just coming into the city as they're moving in. Things do even out eventually, and at some point I remove the tunnel into this island. So here I'm starting on the layout for the path network for the church park. I wanted the entire park to extend from the beachfront promenade to the church with a wide pedestrian bridge leading up the hill. I needed the road underneath the bridge for additional circulation, otherwise all traffic would be directed onto that promenade road. I ended up really liking the bridge design anyway, and I do detail it out nicely. And speaking of detailing, I won't be finishing all of the details for this park in this episode. I wanted to get some of my main ideas down early in the build, and then I came back later to actually do a lot more detailing. So that will be completed in a much later episode. But for now, I hope you enjoy seeing some of these ideas come together. Now I know these double ramps aren't looking very good at the moment. This is one of those trust the process moments. I do want it to be circular, but I was kind of struggling with the angles of the roads. Thinking back on it now, I know how I should have done it, but in the moment it just wasn't clicking for me. So I came in here and I put in this circular park, and I just adjusted all the nodes with Move It and made it look much better. It's still not technically a perfect circle, but you'd have to look pretty close to really notice. Once I was done with that, I just deleted the park. I eventually realized that I didn't think the fountain was quite enough, and that the mausoleum I placed in part 1 would actually be great in this location. Once it was there, I did need to remove some of the other parts of the asset, like the fence, the trees, and the surfacing. Otherwise, I think it looks pretty good. I'll come in again later and I'll do some more detailing on it. Alright, so for the rest of this, I'm just going to finish some of the path detailing up to the church in this upper park area, and I'll leave you with a little bit of a time lapse until we come on to the next section. So please enjoy some music, and I'll catch up with you in a couple minutes. Okay, so just a quick recap of this park as we come to the end of this section. You can see I put some functional parks in there because I did want more activity coming through. I did remove some of the surfaces on those parks and add one more little plaza. I think I was just trying to get some ideas down for the future when I would come in later and finish it up. There's also a couple roundabouts that I put in just to ease the traffic congestion in the area. I think I'm liking how it's looking, so I did at this point move on to another project. Now I'm going to make one of the more unique features of this whole build. I figured out a way to make custom ponds or pools with almost any shape. I'm guessing I'm not the only one to have done this, but I haven't seen anyone else do it yet. Basically, you build a shape with a pedestrian path with a retaining wall, not a key wall, on the inside edge of the shape. Then you lower the terrain inside the shape by just a few meters, and you place a constant level water source inside of it. Just be careful not to flood everything. I recommend saving the game before trying this in case you do create a flood. Then you can go in and you can detail the pond with any surface you want. Just be careful to keep away from the edge of the retaining wall because the texture will bleed up the edge of it. Then I went through and I put in some basic detailing for the rest of the plaza. I wasn't quite sure how it was going to look in the end, but I wanted to get this down more as an idea as I kind of brainstormed a little bit. It does end up looking quite different in the end. I basically chose different surfaces and also detailed it up a little bit. Here you're seeing me put in the first beach surfaces. I do actually come back later to do all of this after rewatching Sully's beach surface tutorial guide, which I'll link that in the description so that you can see it. It's amazing if you haven't seen it already. The guide basically shows you how to use all of these surfaces and how to blend them in smoothly to each other. I didn't really like what I did here, and you can see I was trying to create more of a wet look where the aqueduct was coming out into the bay. And again, this is more me just trying to get down ideas for the future when I do come in and actually properly detail the area. Moving on, I'm continuing building some of the blocks with the Mediterranean assets, and I'm trying a few different things with parking in the area. So I'm making small blocks with some angled parking in the streets, and then adding little plazas between with pedestrian paths for people to walk around, trying to get a lot of pedestrian connectivity through. You can see I was able to create some intersections that aligned with the pedestrian paths in the cemetery so that there was one nice cohesive pedestrian route through that part of the city. I also tried to create lots of small plazas. Even if they were just very simple, I wanted lots of outdoor space for people to be walking around or just to sit and have a bite to eat or hang out. Right now you're seeing me make some custom parking roads. I wasn't quite satisfied with the alley road with angled parking. I wanted to make my own, and it would have parallel parking on one side of the road and angled parking on the other side. And so here I put in a couple guide roads to upgrade the road and then remove them after. I was pretty happy with how that looked. It would be nice to have some of the road markings to show those spaces properly. I'm okay with it at this point. I do kind of wish I was able to have time to detail it up later. Then I just went through and I copied the same thing on the other side. I am trying to have some sort of symmetry in this area, using the cemetery as the kind of the middle. And so you can see the parking is symmetrical on both sides of this area. Right here, you're seeing me trying to do a little mini traffic fix as people moving into the city is still creating lots of traffic. So I'm just gonna simply throw down a roundabout and come back later to see if I can do something else. And now we're back to some more block building using the Mediterranean assets. So I'll leave you with some music while I finish this up, and I'll see you in a moment. With more blocks completed and people moving in, we've just broken the 10,000 population mark, and You can probably notice there's a lot of vehicles parked on the road. You might also have noticed that in part 1, I did create an underground parking area. I cut it out because I actually didn't originally do it right. And here you're going to see me do it correctly. The mistake that I had made before was I didn't make pedestrian roads. So when I realized it wasn't working, I went and I asked Sunny Scunny, because I've seen him do it on his Sunny Isle build. I said, what did I do wrong? And he instantly told me that I probably didn't have sidewalks on my underground roads, and sure enough, that was the problem. So you can see here, I've built this one-way kind of circular network underground with a little bit of additional circulation for people to move around to the right spot. Everything has sidewalks so pedestrians can actually walk in and out of this place. Otherwise, they won't go down there because they can't get to where they need to go. Then I added a couple of additional ways in and out of the parkade. I didn't want all the traffic in and out of the parking area to be consolidated to one access. Otherwise, it would just create a lot of traffic. So here I've created a couple additional ways in and out. And as we unpause, we can see it's working. The next step was to actually add some pedestrian connections, as if people are coming up from underground parking into buildings above, as if they were in an underground parkade and they're going up some stairs or an elevator. I tried to make them actually in somewhat logical places, like in these buildings, and they would be set back away from the street under these outdoor areas. And you can see the people actually walk out of these doors out to the sidewalk. And let's test this one here. Underground there, you can see a car just pulled up and somebody walking up. And that's beautiful. It's working already so quickly. Adding that path made those spaces close to there more desirable. And so I went through and I added a few more of these paths from the underground into the buildings above using the invisible paths. I want to thank Sunny Scunny so much for basically showing me that this was possible at all. And you should definitely go check out the Sunny Isle build if you have not already. It is currently my favorite build series. And that's where we're going to end today's episode. Mainly, we've focused on parks and plazas and parking, whether it's on street or it's underground. I loved putting all of these things together. They were just all these little ideas, and I wanted to share them with you in this episode. I know it may not look like we actually built a lot compared to the previous episode, but there's just so many small things in there. In the next one, we'll focus more on expanding the town and adding some more road connectivity, and we'll get to some of the more detail-oriented parts down the road. So I want to thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy building.